Okay, what are we doing here? We're doing panic-o-meter on a scale of 1 to 10. There are games being played between teams that both lost in week 1, so they are staring down the barrel of 0-2. 5 games this weekend against teams that racked up losses right out of the gates. We're going to do 1 to 10.
Good teams there.
And how panicked should these teams be? And let's focus first on the 49ers, who travel to New Jersey for the first of 2 games at MetLife Stadium, Jets and then the Giants. I'm going to start with them. Scale of 1 to 10. What is the panic level? What should it be right now for your San Francisco 49ers?
You're a funny guy. You're a very funny guy.
Are they not your San Francisco 49ers?
Well, I mean, they are just because of one guy, okay? But you're right. I certainly root for them. There's no doubt about that. But I'm a Giant fan, true blue, okay? But either way, yeah, I'm going to put it on the 7. It's panic time a little bit. I mean, there's injuries throughout the roster at the wide receiver position for the 49ers. Now George Kittle's hurt. We don't know what he'll be for Sunday or if he'll play at all. And Mohamed Sanu is not the Mohamed Sanu we've known, that made a name for himself in Cincinnati and Atlanta with Kyle Shanahan. There's a reason.
He'd still be on the Patriots.
Exactly. There's a reason the Patriots cut him with the team that we question their wide receiving core. So, yes. I know Shanahan will know how to use them, and Sanu will be comfortable within the offense. But, pass game weapons is certainly a little bit of a question right now in San Francisco, let alone Jimmy Garoppolo, as you talked about yesterday. He threw the ball like crap last weekend, and that doesn't make me feel more confident about them and their passing game either.
And it's amazing. There's a 49ers fan that sent a horribly racist message to Budda Baker because he's the one who hit George Kittle and caused the knee injury. And the 49ers issued a statement yesterday to it, an appropriate statement by the 49ers. But Garoppolo's the one who caused it. If you're going to be mad at anybody, be mad at Garoppolo.
That's
he
right.
threw the ball too high on a screen pass, and Kittle jumped up for it and got his knees blown out in the process, and we'll see how bad that knee sprain is. And we saw last year how quickly he can come back from that kind of an injury, but that's the problem. Now, next week, when it's 49ers-Giants, you've just said you're a Giants fan, true blue, and your guy Kyle's coming to town.
Right.
What do you do during that game?
Yeah, I root for Shanahan. I do. Yeah, I mean it's a personal relationship that's too special for me. As much as I love the New York Giants, yes, I like my buddy Kyle Shanahan and his family, and they've been great to me ever since I was 18 years old. So I, without a doubt, will be rooting for them. Now, will I want the Giants to have some success? And, is it one of those things where I go, I hope 49ers, win a close one and the Giants look good too? Yeah, that's what I kind of hope for in those matchups. But I will be rooting for Kyle and the Niners.
And I remember last year or the year before, or possibly both, we talk about the stress that begins to creep into a team after, 0-1, okay, forget about it. You get to 0-2, right? You've talked us through this before, so talk me through it again. Refresh my memory about how that level of anxiety spikes. I think it's after 0-2, maybe it's after 0-3, but either way, it's coming for some of these teams.
It definitely is. When you hit 0-2, you walk into a building on Monday morning after that second loss, and you start to go, whoa, I can feel the anxiousness, the anxiety, the intensity in the building already. Because now the coaches are, pissed off, on a mission. They realize, we're teetering on the brink of losing control of the season and everything like that, to where everything gets tightened up and people do start to stress out, and you start to see coaches yell about stuff that you're like, what are you yelling at? That's not that to be yelled at. It can lose control that way. And only the special teams can overcome it, in my opinion. But it is a real thing. And I used to hate it. It was my worst thing about being an NFL football player, was when it got to that time of the year, just how uncomfortable and unpleasant a facility could be when you were in that situation.
And think about it, if the 49ers should somehow lose to the Jets, they're staying at the Greenbrier here in West Virginia in between those 2 games in New Jersey. And so you throw that on top of the anxiety and the stress. And look, doubt well, who knows? Who knows what will happen? But I doubt that the 49ers are going to lose 2 in a row to start the season after going 13-3.
I hope
stranger
not.
things have happened.
Yeah.
How about Tom Brady? Panic level for him on a scale of 1 to 10 after the performance we saw last weekend.
I'm not overly panicked. We got to be realistic. I think we all did a little disservice to the football gods. I'm going to go I'm right down the middle of the road, like a 5, okay? Right in that range. Are there things I'd like to see? Yeah, here somewhat soon to believe in them? Yes, but at the same time, it's Brady, a new team. They're figuring out how they want to run their offense. I didn't expect it to be perfect week 1 or this team to hit the ground running. I think Bruce Arians' comments add a little more concern to the situation, too. I will say that. Him publicly calling out a guy like Brady that way, that aggressive in week 1, I don't know if I totally agreed with that. I thought that was a little over-aggressive, especially the Monday comments about, hopefully this week he'll show more grit and determination. I heard yesterday he hopes more balls go to Mike Evans. To me, those are all shots at Brady, going, Mike Evans was open a few times. You should have thrown it. You should have been grittier and held in the pocket a little longer a few times during the game. That is maybe a little more concerning to me than anything right now. I do think they'll get it together on the offensive side of the ball.
Brett Favre had a great observation yesterday on SiriusXM NFL Radio about the problem Bruce Arians may be walking into by calling out a guy like Tom Brady after one game. But Favre said there's a chance that this is an agreement,
it's a
that
plan.
This is an understanding, that this is the plan, that this is a twist on Bill Belichick calling out Tom Brady to the team so the other players know there's no sacred cows. This is doing it publicly so everyone knows there's no sacred cows, there's no special treatment. Tom Brady's going to get cussed out just like everyone else. And Arians said that at one point during camp. I'll cuss him out if I have to.
Yeah.
And maybe that's the deal that they've done. If it's not, though, today's media availability for Tom Brady, and it's typically Wednesday for the starting quarterback on a Sunday game, it's going to be interesting to see because my guess is somebody's going to ask him about it. And it'll be interesting to see how he responds to it. And I still think that 20 years of Patriot way will keep him from saying anything other than he's the coach and whatever he says, and I just go out and play the games. But if it continues, we're going to be watching every week for some sign of frustration. But I'm with you. It's middle-of-the-road panic right now. The schedule softens.
Yes.
Now, they get the Panthers. They got to win this game because then it's House of Horrors time for Tom Brady back to Denver, where he's always struggled. But there are winnable games before they get the Packers week 6. And when you look at their first half schedule, they could get to 5-3 or 6-2, Chris.
Yes.
They could do it. They got a tough draw right out of the gate.
No doubt about that. And you're right. You'd think they'd win this game this weekend against Carolina. The Broncos, Chargers, Bears, that's are good defenses. So they will challenge this football team, and that'll make it tough. But, yes, they're a work in progress. And, to the bigger point of what you just brought up, that does go on in football. My father would be the first one to tell you. Bill Parcells, there was a few times through my dad's career where Bill Parcells would tell my dad before practice, like, hey, I might jump on you just for something stupid today to kind of make my point to other guys on the team and do that. So that certainly does go down. I didn't get that feeling, though, in the post-game press conference, that it was like a planned thing. I felt like it was a little bit like, ooh, I'm a little frustrated because he threw 2 interceptions and we didn't win the game, and it just came out of his mouth. And that's where it's different, but we'll see. We'll see. I know we'll be aware of what goes on here.
I agree with you. I think this is Bruce Arians being Bruce Arians, the guy he's always been, the guy who didn't become a coach until 7 years ago because he won't play the game. He won't kiss butt. He will say what he thinks. And it very well may be that when they had that first conversation, whether it happened after they were allowed to have it or before they were allowed to have it, wink, wink, nod, nod, at some point Arians, I'm certain, said to Brady, hey, you got to understand how I am. I'll call you out. You make a mistake, I'll call you out. I call out everybody. That's the way it is. You're going to stop. If Arians didn't do that, he made a huge mistake because Brady needs to know going in that he's not dealing with some head coach who's going to go out and grumble and not say anything. This coach is going to go out and say when his guys make mistakes. Phillip Rivers, with the Vikings coming to town and the Vikings anxious to get to 1-1, and Rivers with 2 interceptions in a game that the Colts should have easily won over the Jaguars, 8-point favorites, and they lose by 7. What's the panic level for him?
This is a weird one. I'm I'm going to say a 6 here. And it really has nothing to do with the rest of the football team. I mean, nothing. I mean, you said it. They never punted in the game. They moved the ball up and down the field on the Jacksonville Jaguars. The offense was great. Frank Reich is quietly one of the best game planners there is in all of football. I mean, every week when I watch the film, I go, ooh, that was a cool way to do that. Or, ooh, I've never seen that combination. He's always got something to bring to the table. But I go 6 here because, I mean, we've seen this story, and I'm concerned that he just can't help himself. He's got to prove to me a little bit that he can rein it in and punt the ball a few times. I mean, whatever. But when you're in control of the game, part of your job as a quarterback is to realize how the game is going. Yeah, you go into a football game all the time going, I hope we score 35 and we throw for 350 yards. But part of a quarterback's job is to go, oh, wait, I'm sitting here on the sidelines. It's the end of the first quarter. Man, their offense can't move the ball in our defense today. Man, we're kind of moving at will. Okay, I don't think I need to take any chances. I can play this conservative. I think we're going to win this game. I don't need to do anything crazy. We're the better team on the field. And I just feel like sometimes that doesn't happen. And it's just throw it, aggressive, throw it. And it bit them in the butt. So I'm a little concerned just because of him, and it's a habit.
And look, I take no pleasure in being right about, so far, my belief that what we saw from Phillip Rivers last year was a harbinger of what we were going to see this year in Indianapolis. But I got to ask this question, Chris. Not many teams have a backup who's making $15 million a year,
right?
In Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah.
What kind of leash does Phillip Rivers have?
I think it's going to be, like somewhat long here, where he'll get a good 4 or 5 games. But if this continues to be a theme, then yes, they're going to look at a guy and go, okay, Jacoby, at least he won't turn the ball over. At least he won't make some of these mistakes. So it's going to be on Phillip Rivers, and hopefully he can rein it in and play smart football and not take some of those chances. They have a very good all-around football team, and they should not have blown that game last week. So, he's got to put some good games together here to squash that conversation altogether so it doesn't come about halfway through the year.
And even if they lose their home opener on Sunday, by the way, up to 2,500 fans will be able to attend the game at Lucas Oil Stadium. If they fall to 0-2, they've got the Jets, at the Bears, at the Browns, and the Bengals before their bye. So there's opportunities to win games and turn this thing around and keep Jacoby Brissett on the sideline. Remember, he was 5-2 last year before he suffered the knee injury that derailed his season, because when he came back, I don't think he was ever the same. And then they decided they got to go out and buy one of these veteran quarterbacks as a stopgap until they draft somebody. If the stopgap's not stopping, then you got to go with the guy you have. And you're paying Jacoby Brissett a lot of money to be available. And I think at some point it becomes a consideration. And if they lose games that they – look, I can say if they lose games they clearly should have won, it becomes a problem. Well, they've already lost a game they clearly should have won. So is it the Jaguars are a hell of a lot better than we thought, or is it the Colts are a hell of a lot worse? That's why we need 3, 4, 5 games to really understand where these teams are. The Vikings, 0-1, giving up more points than they ever have in any season opener in their 60-year history, Chris, taking it on the road to Indianapolis. What's the panic level for them?
8. I think, to be fair, I mean, I'm a little panicked about the Vikings. Defense was stinky. You said it. There's issues there. They had schematical issues, and then they had clear, personnel, we can't match up with this guy issue. So that's concerning. And then when you flip it over to the offensive side of the ball, I mean, we talked about it yesterday. I mean, holy crapola. 5 throws in the first half. I mean, you got to work hard to do that in this day and age in the NFL. So between that, the way the offense looked, all the new pieces, everything to go with it, I think the Vikings could be in trouble. And this week they got to rebound a little bit and show us what they're all about.
I mean, here's the problem. When you are going to jettison as many veteran defensive backs as they did, whether you cut them or whether you let them walk away in free agency because you're confident that you can backfill, if you don't have a pass rush, I don't care who's back there. Eventually, someone's getting open. It could be Charles Woodson, Rod Woodson, Deion Sanders, and Darrell Green in their prime. Somebody's eventually getting, well, maybe not with those 4, But if you give a quarterback enough time, he's eventually going to find somebody that he can throw the football to. And the Vikings did not unleash a pass rush, and that made it even harder for a bunch of young corners to cover Devontae Adams and company. So I think what it is it's an 8, and Mike Zimmer, the coach of the Vikings, needs to convince them it's lower than that. Because I think if they believe it, they're gonna press, they're gonna try to do too much, and they're gonna walk right into the trap. Because Phillip Rivers needs this game as badly as the Vikings defense does, and something's got to break.
Yes, you're right. It's a big football game. And the way things looked on Sunday, I clearly think the Colts are the better team, but Phillip Rivers is the wild card in all this. Are we going to get, the rambling, gambling, could throw 4 interceptions at any moment, or are we going to get the guy we saw in the 2018 season that led his team to a 12-4 record, the second best record in the AFC, and played pretty clean football? If we see that, the Colts could be very dangerous.
I always tend to go with the more recent. He's 2 years older than he was in 2018. And last year was not good, and this year not off to a good start for the Colts or the Vikings or the Cowboys. Lost a game they could have won, maybe should have won. Mike McCarthy entering his second game as coach of the team, home opener against the Cowboys, and they still don't know how many fans are going to be there. They're allowed to have up to 50%. They're not going to go quite there, but they haven't said how many are going to be there. But there will be fans present. Mike McCarthy, game 2, a game they should win against the Falcons. What's his panic level going into this?
Well, I'm not panicked about anything in particular that I saw from I still think this is a solid football team. They played tough. They were there, with a chance to win the football game when it was all said and done. So I'm going to go a 4 here. I am, because I'm not panicked about Mike McCarthy. I wish he would have kicked the field goal and tied the game and continued to see can the Rams go down and score and do that, make them play. They weren't exactly on fire, the Rams offense. They just scored 20 points. So I don't understand that still to this day. But, the other thing I just went on to see, again, from this offense, they got too many weapons. They got just too many weapons to not be doing more on the offensive side of the ball. I wish they would take a little bit more of a new age approach, Mike. I think that's, if I could say anything to the Dallas Cowboys and Mike McCarthy, goes, damn, you got 2 really good running backs. One's a super stud. You got 3 unreal receivers. We got to get the ball in the hands of these guys more. And I just think there's got to be more misdirection, moving parts. You got to give your guys a schematical advantage. What's the point of having CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, and Michael Gallup if you can't get them the ball and scare people with it? I just wish we would see almost a little bit more of a Kansas City approach from them. Hey, it's Amari Cooper in the backfield going this way and CeeDee Lamb going that way, and it's a motion there, and they stop and they come back the other way, and more screens and more reverses and speed sweeps and everything like that. And I think they could be special that way. I just want to see a little more creativity from that side of the ball and just more involvement with all this talent they have.
As part of my newfound effort to emulate both you and Ron Jaworski, I watched all of that game carefully.
Yeah, what'd you think?
Shereen Williams and I did a rewatch of it for PFTPM last night. 2 drives that stood out. At the end of the first half, when it looked like the Cowboys didn't have enough time to do anything, they sliced and diced, and they got down the field, and they scored a touchdown, and they took the lead.
Yeah.
End of the game, I don't know what the hell they were doing. They got the ball with 2 minutes and 28 seconds left, and they were pinned in their own end, but they had 2:28. And they burned off almost all of it to go 20 yards.
Yeah.
There was a lot of passes clearly in bounds, no opportunity to get out of bounds and stop the clock. There was no urgency, no creativity. They don't throw the ball down the field the way they should. The one time they did, it was the connection with Michael Gallup. And I do that more often.
Yeah.
There's a lot of balls being sprayed around in that 15 to 20-yard area at the most. There isn't a whole lot of over-the-top stuff, and you've got guys who can get down the field.
Yeah.
And why not do that? Why not have that threat to make it easier to do everything else? So I was very disappointed by their last drive. They had more than enough time to get in field goal range, and then all of a sudden they had no time, and they were in panic mode. And that's on both Mike McCarthy and the play caller, Kellen Moore, because in that moment, when you still have that window of opportunity, when you still got that chance to win the game or at least force overtime, and you've got that much, I think they got lulled into a false sense of how much time they had, and before they knew it, it's like, holy crap, we only got 40 seconds left.
Yeah, it did look like that a little bit. They were taking their time. And, hey, look, part of it, again, situational football and things we talk about, Really good 2-minute drill teams too, just to bring up this point. Not that it was totally here, but if you're a quarterback and somebody's open for 2 yards and you see, oh, wait, he's open for 2 yards, but he's going to get tackled quickly and have no chance to get out of bounds. Tom Brady wouldn't throw that. He'd just throw it out of bounds and go, who cares about the 2 yards? We need the time. I'm not going to waste 20 seconds to get 2 yards. And they did. They had some wasted plays there early on in that drive where you were just like, that wasn't worth it for all the time you lost on the clock. That was stupid. And, they got to readjust some things there in Dallas.
Yeah, well, what do you think? If somebody's going to make a move and they're going to pop free and they're going to run 80 yards and win the game?
Right.
It just didn't make any sense to me to have that lack of urgency when you still have a chance to win the game. And you're trying to atone for the misguided decision to go for it on 4th down with 10 minutes left in the game when you could have just taken the field goal, tied it up. It's 0-0 with 10 minutes left. Let's go. Let's see who can win this game.
Yep.
So, all right, I'm not overly panicked for the Cowboys, but there are things, we say all the time, or we hear coaches say all the time, we need to go watch the film and decide what to fix. There are things the coaches need to fix that they did.
Yeah.
Not necessarily the players coming out of that first game for the Cowboys.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.